Hello and welcome to the program. I am Suren. I'd like to talk to you about imagination, invention, and discovery today. As you might know, imagination is the driving force behind the human thought, and is a key component in the process of invention and discovery. Imagination is the ability to use one's mind to create new ideas and possibilities. Imagination is part and parcel of human civilization and is used to construct scientific theories and create new inventions. Invention is the creation of something new, using one's own ideas and development. Inventions are usually the result of study and experiment and are often considered as something that has not previously existed. That is what invention is. Discovery is the recognition of something that already exists for the first time. For instance, Christopher Columbus and his discovery of the Americas. Here are some examples of imagination, invention, and the discovery. Albert Einstein imagined himself flying at light speed and developed the theory of general relativity. Thomas Edison invented the light bulb by imagining the use of different materials for filaments after the experiments of Nikola Tesla. Science fiction. The 19th century scientific discoveries inspired the writers and illustrators to create a new genre where the impossible became possible. Thomas Edison was said to have advised, "You need a good imagination and a pile of junk." In August 1795, John Fitch not only demonstrated the first successful steamboat, but was also granted a United States patent for his invention. A century later, on August the 12th, 1877, Thomas Albert Edison is believed to have completed the model for the very first phonograph, a device that recorded sound onto tinfoil cylinders. 20 years later, on August the 31st, the inventor, often referred to as the Wizard of Menlo Park, received a patent. What was to become the forerunner of the motion picture film projector. August was indeed a month proving to be a notable one, as you may know, to be a National Invention Month, at least in the history of the United States. Therefore, it is quite appropriate to call the month of August as being the National Inventors Month. Here is a great advice for all people with inventive spirit and great imagination. When you wake up from your dreams with probably an invention in your mind, please jot it down on a journal and don't dismiss it as a complete nonsense. When your children speak to you after their dreams, even though something that does not make any sense to you at the time, make sure that you make a note of it. And don't miss this message, as out of children's mere imagination, because you never know what inventions you can come up with after such a great and probably unexpected imagination and dreams. When I was a little child, I too had many dreams. I wished I could tell all about it to the folks, but I could only talk to my mother. I was surrounded by a whole army of people, my relatives, and every single thought one could think of, they all laughed at my dreams. I remember it well, and downgraded my ideas as a child's much lacking sophistication in knowing. I don't think that I was alone in this anywhere around the world, because there are many others, child or adult alike. They too have been laughed at, and all their ideas were being brushed off as complete nonsense. Everything remains as considered then as it is nonsense today. Believe it or not. And that's perhaps an insane fantasy or science fiction, but one day they will come up as the reality of future, as it has happened over the centuries of thoughts and dreams of the past. L. Frank Baum wrote the following: "Imagination has brought mankind through the dark ages to its present state of civilization. Imagination led Columbus to discover America. Imagination led Franklin to discover electricity. Imagination has given us, the humans, the steam engine, the telephone, the talking machines, and the automobile. For these things have to be dreamt of before they became realities." So I believe the dreams, your dreams, with your eyes wide open and your brain working hard as you are imagining, wishing, like literally needing to do still better in the world. Imagination, indeed. The imaginative child will become the imaginative men or women, most apt to create, to invent, and therefore to foster a new civilization. Now, wouldn't it be amazing if families purchased 3D printers or build one for themselves and sit down together with their children to learn all about how to use maths and technology to create and design things. And that could well end up making a difference in the world someday. Some people still think that many people say these things because they all think the same ways, same state. I too will say the same thing again and again, as I agree that it would be indeed so incredible if we found a way to help schools, for instance, get 3D printers into every science classroom. Imagine how many brilliant and useful, possibly even life-changing ideas are stuck inside of a 3D grader's mind. And they have no way to test it or refine it or share it. Maybe using 3D design software to help create the best, say, Pinewood Derby car in the United States a Cub Scout troop has ever laid eyes on would probably not to do much, but improve their chances of winning and gaining more knowledge and the rights for the advancements. "10 years from now, maybe that experience will have encouraged even one of them to invent the greenest car on the planet and make a difference somehow." These are not just my own words alone, as they come from all over the place, everywhere from every corner of the world. What we teach our children now and what we get them excited about is very important. Not just for that moment in time, believe me, but for the future. Therefore, do not ignore your children's or even your own dreams, and don't dismiss them, please. Really, what stops you from spending the afternoons, even if it is on Sunday afternoons, with your children, watching the imagination soar and create in ways you didn't even know was possible? Just think about it. As it is written before by others, I will also repeat and say, maybe what they come up with will never get past the sketching phase. Maybe it will never make it to a prototype. And maybe it will never do anything but sit in a notepad or as a file on your computer. But maybe, just maybe, one of their silly ideas will result in devices that could save lives someday, or help the blind to read, or maybe just to bring the world some, shall we say, cool joy on a hot day. And would it not be a shame not to explore that potential? Question mark. Consider Albert Einstein's incredible words again. Imagination is more important than knowledge. Science is truly fascinating. The laws that have been formed till date all have come from imagination of beautiful minds. Can imagining things, come up with an idea, and elaborate it further through their confidence, became existent. It is through imagination only that we have reached to the level of this current civilization, and now even planning to build a successful time machine. Imagination can only help others to understand the nature and her mysteries. Without imagination, science would never ever have existed. Imagination is really important in science. Newton's laws, which were developed only through his imagination. Think about that. Special relativity exists only because of imagination of Albert Einstein. Transformers exist only due to imagination of Nikola Tesla. Imagination is everywhere in every invention. Knowledge is not, really important, because we believe what we read and memorize, but imagination makes it possible. Why it is, and allows us to question everything we doubt. Imagination is like a wing that can take us into great heights. Take it or leave it, believe it or not. Without the imagination, we can never achieve greatness and never become a legend. The author, Ray Blanco, relays a question. It sounds like this. What is the role of imagination and intuition in making scientific discoveries or having good ideas that can lead to something new? An image of the vision has a projection that appears to draw one into it. The radiation of subparticles from the vision are akin to time reversals. Our physical conscious is like practicing to line up our inertia to move towards this backward cause and effect as part of the masterpiece. That belongs to the same fine art. The author, Courtney Schumacher, answers the question: how close are we to discovering everything we can imagine? With very far. We can imagine all kinds of monsters and magic, but we have already proven their non-existence. And there are certainly no little green men on Mars. There is life elsewhere in the universe. It is too big for there not to be. Even if we are the only life in this galaxy, we are probably not the only life in this solar system. But though we are working hard to find out, it still looks distant. For now, we can truly imagine anything, whether we had seen something like it before or not. That is how new inventions get made. Somebody thinks of something new. There are a lot of inventions still to come out of people's imaginations. We understand that term, imagination, and a role in both science and religion, but the ways it is used to differ in a few key ways can be considered. Let us think of the purpose of it all. In science, the imagination is utilized to generate hypotheses and explore what else would be true. If those hypotheses were true, that can be found. In religion, however, imagination can influence visionary experiences and visualization. Relationship to truth. Science and religion have different notions of truth. Science is based on evidence from the natural world, while the religion assumes that humans can access information that is not available through observation or reason. Relationship to creativity. Well, some research suggests that religiosity is negatively related to creativity. However, many theologians across the Abrahamic family of religions and in the East-West competitive perspective take a positive attitude towards the role of imagination in religious consciousness. Religion and science are thus functional on different aspects of human experience, and International Academy of Sciences supports the view that they are independent. However, both science and religion rely on faith. In science, faith is required in the existence of an orderly universe. Any religion or faith is required in the existence of a deities and the Great One's teachings of religious texts. What is the relationship between science and imagination then? Well, all experiments begin with hypotheses generated by imagining different ways and styles. The world might be, if you are testing them, we explore these hypotheses by imagining what else would be true if they were. What is the role of imagination in religion? Question mark. Through imagination, we humans are able to suspend our own passionate feelings and passionately held beliefs, and to treat them as possibilities and even options, so that we may understand the possibilities and beliefs of others. Is imagination linked to intelligence? Question mark. Albert Einstein once said, "The true sign of intelligence is not knowledge, but imagination." This statement holds profound wisdom and invites us to consider the immense power of imagination and shaping the old world. Then, What does God supposedly say about imagination? Question. The God wants humans not to trust in the world's philosophies, especially when they contradict His great word, casting down imaginations and every high thing that exalted itself against the knowledge of God, and bringing into captivity every thought, truth, obedience of Christ. 2 Corinthians chapter 10, verse 5 in the Bible. What is the influence of imagination? You might ask. Being more imaginative allows a person to make creative connections and inferences using their past experience and knowledge base. Is there, as a result, research which indicates that more robust daydreaming is associated with superior intelligence? Another question. In fact, a great question. And what does Islam say about imagination? Question mark. One thing is certain. Islam does not forbid you, if you are Muslim or not, to let his thoughts wander and imagine permissible things, because this is human nature, it says. Are imaginative people more intelligent then? Let us ask this question. To start with, a creative person is smart, but can also be naive. That's true. While having higher than average intelligence might contribute to creativity. And an IQ over 120 does not necessarily lead to greater creativity. Does the brain know the difference between imagination and reality? Now, that is a good question. In simple terms, the brain cannot tell the difference between what is reality and what is imagined. Scientific study, however, backs this up. But the new experiments show that the brain indeed distinguishes between perceived and imagined mental images by checking whether they cross every other threshold. Yes, imagination is a skill. Believe it or not. Some intellectuals consider that our imagination is one of so-called God's greatest gifts to us, humans. Some people have an inherent negative attitude towards unconventional ideas because they are unfamiliar to what they have seen or experienced. As a result, there is a strong tendency to favor less imaginative ideas. What does Buddha say about imagination, do you think? In Buddhism, worlds deliberately accessed or assessed through the imagination are primary sources for personal healing, inspiration, and insight, as well as for social, cultural, and political transformation. What does Jesus say about imagination? Another good question. What we have discovered is that imagination is very important in living morally. This allows the adherents to faith to rejoice with those who rejoice and weep with those who weeps. Romans chapter 12, verse 15. Ye shall love your neighbor as yourself. This is an imaginative act. Matthew chapter 22, 39. Is it haram to imagine? In Islam, imagining is not haram. Allah does not punish the faithful for their thoughts, only their actions. With that, I shall say, keep smiling, be happy until we meet again next time by the next episode. Thank you.